welcome to all the participants. A very good afternoon to all of you. Okay, great. Great to have all of you in. Okay, let me ask a question first. See, all of you were talking about, some of you said, hey, I want to understand the salary breakup so that I'm able to increase the net salary of an employee. Somebody said, how do I pay the salary equitable? Somebody said, hey, salary benchmarking because I want to make the salary competitive, right? And so a lot of you said we want to learn job evaluation, etc. Having said that, first of all of you looking as HR, if you were HR managers and HR heads, why do you think compensation and benefits is becoming really very important, critical area? As somebody who said, oh, it's becoming, I'll tell you who said, yeah, very strategic. Why do you think compensation is becoming strategic today? You use the word strategic, right?
Yeah,
Because it is like it will be used for retrieving the employees. The first thing, retrieving the exit employees mainly.
Pardon?
Retrieving the exit employees, retention to decrease the retention of
Mm-hmm.
the company.
Okay, okay,
And
okay. Mm-hmm.
second
Let me
thing,
use it.
and also attracting the new hires. For some companies, like when we are having a competitors, they're going to have a like a good packages. Or coming to our company, there may be less packages. So there will be no attraction. So for attracting a new joinees also.
Okay.
Mm, and
So,
something, and third point is the motivational factor.
mm-hmm.
Exit
Okay.
internal employees. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you're saying that to attract, retain, motivate our employees, huh?
Yeah.
So compensation is critical, and so they. But my question was, yes, it's critical, and you want to attract, retain, motivate the right kind of people. Okay, but why strategic? Anybody else? I lovely. I mean, I'm glad Nagendra responded, but I also want to know from some of you. Think.
yeah, yeah. Because
Ah,
because lots of the organization are moving to the data-driven approach, where they because the competition is so high, where we
mm,
will have to retain the talent, as Nagin mentioned.
mm,
So strategic in a way, so that it doesn't impact the budget, right?
mm,
uh, and we are able to retain the talent by by doing the compensation benchmarking, doing the surveys as to where we stand with our competitors. So that's why it has become strategic.
okay. So, I'm just trying to ignite your minds. I'm just again echoing what you all said. Yogesh said competition is high. That's the external environment. Competition is very high. Okay. And what you said, detailing, like salary survey. This is detailing, right?
Yeah,
What you need to do? Huh?
yeah,
Salary survey or job. I will put my word also. Job evaluation. Huh?
yeah.
What you need to do. Yet, I'm just trying to figure out if you all can think. Yet I am saying, hey, compensation is strategic. Why? I would like some. There are also senior people here, Devi, and then who else? Tapan, huh?
I
Yeah.
would I would say strategic in a way it's be managing costs of an
Okay.
organization.
Okay. Yes. Detailing. So there is some amount of you have to manage costs, etc. Okay. Guys, 1 second. Sorry. Yeah. Manage costs. I just want to ignite your mind. So today, compensation is definitely critical, right? Everybody. Let me give you a little, 2 decades ago, or maybe in the early, 70s and 80s, how was it? We would pay a salary, benefits, they were low cost, something we would give benefit, they were not a priority. And then one size fit all. You could just give benefits. So there was nothing much as strategic about compensation, because the employer always felt, hey, I'm paying and I can get people. But today, for example, Yogesh was saying competition has become high. So therefore, what is happening? Your talent pool, there is a war for the talent, right? Can you attract your right kind of people which are required? Because why is it important? Why is compensation important? A, it has business impact. Does it have business impact? That's important.
Yes.
We should move out from the activity driven. As an HR person, I keep thinking, oh, the other day there was this direct head of HR. Somebody was asking me, ma'am, do you have a very good PMS model? I told him I can give any amount of PMS models. It is not that big. It is not that what you're going to use is important. We should not be activity driven. Our focus should be on the end outcome. That means business impact. Or rather, what I can say is business, achieving business objectives, increasing the organizational performance. Now, how can we do that? I'm coming here. How can we do that? By attracting, who Nagendra said, attracting, retaining, motivating, not anybody, the right kind of people. So I will come to this saying that yes, we have to attract, retain, motivate the right kind of people. Because if I don't do this, right kind of people, so that they also have the right kind of competencies, so that I'm able to achieve my business objectives, or I'm able to increase my organizational performance. That is okay. So therefore, today, because of the war for talent and because of the competition is so high, every organization is what? Innovating. It has a strategic impact. Now you can't use a cookie cutter approach. What is this cookie cutter approach? Huh? Like 2 decades ago, we used to have, okay, one salary structure. I will just, and I will pay benefits across for everybody in the organization, the same amount. I can't look at, I need to innovate. I have to strategize. Maybe I also maybe have to do some workforce segmentation. What is this workforce segmentation? That means I need to actually look at my demographics and say, hey, for my old tenured employees, maybe benefits will be different. For my young generation, millennials, there will be different benefits. You need to come out with innovative things, because that's how it becomes strategy. Okay, so therefore this is just to give you a little bit of the background, that why today compensation has become so important as opposed to what it was 2 decades ago. Having said that, organizations are not just looking at just compensation, but it is also looking at a concept called, have you heard of this concept?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes. Yes.
Total rewards. It's saying, hey, compensation is just about money, benefits, etc. We have to look beyond, because if I have to increase my business impact, I have to increase and achieve my business objectives, I have to increase my organizational performance, then I cannot just look at just pay some amount like the way earlier they used to do. I will hire somebody, pay some salary, give some benefits, at most some health benefit and retire. That does not suffice. Today, I have to look at every investment I am making in my workforce or in my human capital, so that I can actually be very competitive. So that is the kind of Strategic advantage, what? Strategic advantage organizations are looking at through compensation. Okay, guys, I just thought I'll give you a little bit of a background. Okay. Now, let me actually take you through what are we going to do today in this session, in this program, so that yeah. So the four sessions every Saturday in the afternoon. In session one, we are actually going to set, the context. Then we will talk about environment, focusing on external environment, and then we'll begin into understand what are the components of a compensation system. We'll talk about the various components in a compensation system, and if time permits, we'll do a little bit of an equity theory. Otherwise, we'll have to do it in the next session. Then in the second session, which is very, very heart of the program and very critical, we are going to talk about job evaluation, which will help us in establishing fairness and equity in the way we pay salaries within the organization. Okay. So when we talk about, hey, we want our compensation to be fair, equitable. I'm sure many of you have heard this statement from compensation experts or from CHRO saying that our compensation is very fair, equitable, competitive. So how can you make it fair and equitable? By doing job evaluation. Because when you are paying an X job, how does it compare with the other jobs in the organization? Okay. Then how do you make it competitive? Then we look at what is called what salary survey or benchmarking, because how can we be competitive? Obviously, we have to look outside our organization. That means what are other organizations in my industry paying? What are my peer group paying? How competitive I am? Whether I want to pay that kind of a salary or not is immaterial. But at least I should be knowing what am I paying vis-a-vis the competitors. It is like, saying, hey, if I know where to go, I will take that particular route and go. But if I don't know where to go, I can take any bus, any route and go anywhere. Okay. So competition helps us to decide how competitive we are. And then we will also be talking about the compensation metrics, which are also very, very important for a competent person. All right. Then we were talking about in session four. Here, then we are also talking about how to design salary structures. Okay. Then we here in session four, we are going to talk about what we call it as individual equity. We also talk about variable pay programs, how to design incentive programs. Then how do we then communicate these, reward programs, and then talk about the total reward, what are those elements which contribute to it, and how do you actually then design and deliver an optimal salary structure which will give a business impact. And of course, it doesn't limit you. You can always ask questions. You must have the fire in the belly. And that you must always keep asking why, and ask me questions, please. And we will make it very interactive. That's how you will learn. Okay, guys. Anything else to be added here? Please do not feel shy of it. You can always keep asking me. All right? Done? All right. So let me ask you a quick question now. So when we are looking at compensation system, today we are going to cover, as I said, the external factors and the components of a compensation system and the equity theory. Now, talking about, the external factors, what are some of the key external factors you think about organization, and tell me what are some of the key factors which are impacting the salary structure of your organization?
Government rules and regulations means change in basics and all in different state wise and all.
Absolutely. So can I put that that's a very, very important external and factor, which can I call it as government regulations or even statutory compliances? So I'm just giving it a broad term. Government regulations. We'll talk about them. Yeah. Then
And tax laws.
yeah, so we are going to talk in government regulations when I'm going to take up all the laws. So tax is also going to be a part of the government regulations, right? We'll talk about it. Okay. Any other major factor which is impacting your organization?
Competitor.
Your, huh?
Competitor's salary.
Okay. So shall I say, all right, competitor salary? Okay. Salary. External environments, obviously. Okay. Then how much are the competition paying? Think quickly, figure out. How is your own salary getting impacted?
It's a prevailing market situation of availability of candidates in a particular area, basically.
Standard of
So
living.
can I say demographics?
Demographics, yes.
Huh?
Yeah.
Because I will take everything in that. Huh? Talent, demand and supply, everything. Okay?
Yeah.
Because if your demand is very high and the supply, we'll take all that. Then
Standard of living as well. How particular, you know.
absolutely, somebody said very right. The cost of living. So can I say that as a cost, inflation, cost of,
Inflation and company's economy. Sorry, country's economy.
so we call it as typically COLA, cost of living. Index, okay. That is, I can add here as economic, to some extent, can I say globalization? Can we talk about it? That also impacts, right? And if any of you are there with unions, manufacturing organizations have unions, right? So even say, for example, collective bargaining, for example, this, unions.
Trade unions.
Trade unions.
Yeah, I'm talking about trade unions. They also have an impact on what? Compensation. Okay. All right. Having said that, let me look at, first we will look at, before I take you to the slide back, let us look at government regulations. Take a minute, just take a minute, and please write down on your paper, what are some of the government regulations which impact? There are a lot of payroll guys, so everybody is very adept at it. What are some of the government regulations which impact compensation? For India, because most of you are India, but we'll also say, okay, fine. Yeah. What are some of the government regulations which impact?
First and foremost is minimum wages.
Yeah.
Minimum wages.
So
Minimum wages.
the
Then
thing is,
PF,
One second, one at a time. Minimum wages. Okay. Then,
code of
PF and
wages.
ESI.
pardon? ESI.
So any changes in the statutory compliance?
ESI. Okay. Yeah. I
PF
will call
also.
it as statutory compliances, government regulations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Income
Then,
tax.
pardon?
Income tax.
Absolutely right. Tax. I'll put it as income tax.
Right, both, madam. Professional tax as well as the income tax. The state
Yeah.
government tax.
Because every professional tax is deducted as on a state basis.
Yes.
Bonus Act.
Okay.
Bonus Act.
Bonus. Okay. All of you are payroll guys, such tenured people. Quick. Then
Payment of Gratuity Act.
okay, gratuity. Okay. Shall I write PF also here?
Yeah,
Yeah,
PF.
PF.
Okay. Then shall I write
Change in
Equal
basic
Remuneration Act?
need.
Huh?
Yeah.
Okay. What else? All right. Okay. So,
We can write overtime.
so basically, why do you think first of all we have government regulations, or why do you think first of all we have statutory compliances? Why does government have this statutory compliance? Any reason?
They are drafted and made with the intention of creating a social kind of welfare for the employees. From the perspective of employee,
Absolutely.
these are the moratorium covenants for an employer.
Absolutely. So can I say essentially they are for preventing discrimination? Okay. Exploitation,
Social justice.
right?
Social justice.
Safety net, no?
Yeah. Safety net.
To meet basic needs, basic standard of living. Get
Absolutely.
basic
Some,
standard of living.
absolutely, some standard of living. Okay. Now, if you see, you can categorize the statutory compliance under wages. Under wages, you have payment of minimum wages act. Then you have equal remuneration act. Okay. Then you can look at this as protection. Okay. Where typically you have for health, you will have for insurance. Okay. So the Bonus Act, the ESI Act, the Provident Fund Act, all these are protection acts, protection programs. So here in India, we don't have social security. And then in the end, we have income tax. So just to give you a little more insight into these acts, let me give you. Yeah. So typically we have some of the acts, like if you notice, if you have Equal Pay Act in USA also you have that. So we'll just focus on India, the Remuneration Act, okay, the Minimum Wages Act, the and also Equal Remuneration Act. Why do you think we have Equal Remuneration Act? What is the objective of this Equal Remuneration Act?
Women and men should be paid equally.
Absolutely. If you are doing an X job, then you need to pay equally, not looking at gender, no biases, age, etc. Pay them equal amount. I don't know how many of you have heard of this famous BD case. If Nagendra may be knowing because he's from Andhra. There is a BD case where both men and women were employed in this BD factory where they rolled tobacco. Okay. The man was paid 100 rupees while the woman was paid only 60 rupees. And the nature of work and the effort was the same. So why should there be a discrimination between man and woman? So this went up and they fought. And in fact, the women got their arrears, from the time they worked, etc. So it shows that today, even for a software employee, whether a person is a male or a female, you need to pay the same amount, no discrimination. Now, under protection programs, what are they? Like, for example, Provident Fund, gratuity, etc. And then I want to actually lay emphasis on, for example, the ESI Act takes care of the insurance, health, etc., where employee below what amount? 21,000 rupees or less. He is entitled. Now, there is no government regulation as to employees who get paid higher than 21,000 have to get what? The medical insurance. All right. But they need to have this compensation. Is there a difference between medical insurance and compensation? Anybody, all the payroll guys must be knowing so well. Is there a difference between medical insurance and the compensation?
So medical insurance is a non-monetary benefit,
Ah.
which is given by an employer to the employee.
Hmm.
Rather than compensation is a monetary benefit, like a monetary, which is
No, no.
going.
So let me tell you what I'm trying to get you is, say for example, somebody loses his thumb when he's working in a manufacturing organization, or something happens, say a thumb, then what happens? You need to pay a certain amount of compensation for that disability. Okay, so there are fixed amounts which have to be paid irrespective of whatever level it is. Now, for ESI covers it, but in your organization, as compensation benefit managers, whenever you do this insurance, you must get this compensation indemnity, because I know of a particular case when there was no compensation indemnity. You need to talk to your insurance partners where something happens, you're on work and a person dies, then you know the compensation for that. If it is not there written in a document, compensation indemnity, then the insurance company does not pay. So you need to look at that. Very important. Okay. Then what are some of the other things? Say, for example, maternity benefit. There is no option. You need to be 6 months, okay, of salary for your female employees. So that's again statutory compliance. Now, when we talk about tax, we will be coming to that, a tax. And how can we actually have your salary in such a manner, break it up so that the net salary increases? Before I talk about tax, there is something called, for training, you can also use the Apprenticeship Act. How many of you use this Apprenticeship Act? Do you know what is an apprentice? Yes. You know what happens? Employee promotions, in the sense that you are helping employees to upgrade their skills, etc. So when you are doing this, you might as well get a subsidy from the government. Not only you comply, but you also get through Apprenticeship Act. But then you have to actually decide on a certain, you have to call it as an intern or something, where depending on the industry, you can get your subsidy for training those people, maybe 3 months or 6 months, etc. In fact, let me tell you, there was this organization who in fact started a separate training as a nodal, training for crane operators, where they would actually train, get subsidy, and then because it is short of supply, they would also give to other industries. So it's a very good thing, not only to comply with whatever is required, but also to understand from your organization's perspective, hey, can I actually get some subsidy through this Apprenticeship Act? Okay. Now, having said that, let me just use the board. A lot of you wanted to know, how do we do the salary breakup? Yeah. So when we are looking at the income tax, so typically what happens now, what are the tax exempts you get? You need to know, hey, what are the tax exempts? So typically, what are the tax exempts?
Section 80C and
You
82.
can, that's how you can make your salary break up in such a way that the net salary increases.
Yeah.
So typically, when you look at a tax exempt, the most important thing is
HRE.
HRA. No? Huh?
Yeah.
Depending on metro, non-metro, it gives you what?
50% for
Metro is 50%, huh?
non-metro for 40%.
Right? So you have to look at. And this is HRA is 50% of your base
Yes, sir.
salary. Okay. Then what else? Tax exempt.
Child education allowance, LTA.
As per the Income Tax Act, guys. Okay.
Yeah.
LTA, once in 2 years or once in, you can take twice in 4 years. What else? Today, you have something called
Standard deduction.
earlier you had conveyance and medical, but today you have something called standard deduction. And how much is it?
50,000.
Hmm?
50,000.
You don't have to say just 50,000 straight away, right? The government says you can just choose. Now, what else? Then you have
Additional
children
allowances.
education allowance, right?
Yes.
With a cap of
100 rupees per
100.
two
child per
children.
month.
Huh?
For
100
two
per
children
child.
is 2,400.
Yeah, 2 children. Okay. And it is how much? 200
24.
rupees. Right? Huh. I'll write here. Okay. Then you also have what? Hostel. How much?
300 per child.
Absolutely.
And children education allowances is 2,400 or 24,000. It's
2,400 only.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Hostel allowance. Again, 2 children.
300.
3,600.
Yeah. And you have 3,600, right? Now, there's something like uniform
Uniform
allowance.
maintenance or
Okay.
uniform
But
allowance.
yes, the taxman says okay. Yeah. But then you can't, it hasn't given any kind of an approximation. You can't say, okay, 1 lakh and etc. etc. It has to be
It has to be a
reasonable.
nominal amount.
Yeah, it has to be uniform allowance. It has to be reasonable. Okay. Then you also have what?
Food coupons.
Sodexo.
Uniform allowance and uniform maintenance, 2 different categories, right?
Yeah. So you can see in uniform allowance, everything, maintenance, everything you can take care. Okay. And but you also have to have a policy saying
Yeah,
that
yeah.
yes, you have
Yes.
to justify.
Yeah.
Okay. Sodexo. Earlier, they would
coupon.
give 30,000, 20,000, etc. So then the taxman said, oh, this is too much. They're also watching, right? Big brother. So he said,
Yeah.
okay, 100 rupees
100 per rupees.
per day.
50 per
No?
meal. Yeah, 50 per meal
So,
and 2 meal.
and then max is 2,000.
400.
2,600.
2, 4. Okay,
4
24
actually.
days.
Because
Okay,
why?
yeah.
I'll tell you Saturday and Sunday.
Sunday,
Huh?
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
think
it is 2, 4.
3,000.
Huh?
I think it is
2,400.
3,000 per month.
But
I would say if you are adding 35 rupees per refreshment, then it would be through 3,240. Something is
yeah.
coming. That's what
So
we
you
follow.
can so there is a little bit of ambiguity here. So it is a question of justifying, etc., etc. And so these are the things. Now, gift allowance.
Yeah, gift allowance.
How much?
5,000.
Only if you give more than that,
It will be taxable.
Taxable.
please, everything will be taxed. If you give anything over and above all these things, they will be taxed. Now I'm coming to something very important. Okay. So why do you think I need to do a breakup into these components? Why can't I give Yogesh 2 lakh salary per month? Why can't I give him 2 lakh salary per month? What will happen if I just give him 2 lakh salary per month? Very obvious, no?
30% will go.
The entire amount will be what?
Taxable.
Come under tax scanner. So
Taxable.
30% will. But if I break it up into those components which have tax exemptions, then the tax will come down. That's the basic what? Objective. Okay. Now, having said that, now most of the organizations, what do? They will give certain what? Perquisites.
Like professional allowances, telephones.
I'm coming to that. Perquisites. Okay. So somebody said, yeah, please tell me. Perquisites. Yeah.
Professional allowances.
Anything for the benefit of the employee you give will be taxed other than this, unless and until there is an explicit thing that, this does not come under the tax. Say, for example, I'm giving some furniture, I'm giving some fridge, whatever the amount is for that, you may be giving in kind, but then translated in amount, there is a tax deducted from that amount. Be very, very clear, guys. Okay? Be very, very clear about it, that if you are giving something as a perk for the benefit of the employee, be very clear. I'm telling you, benefit of the employee. Hey, Nagendra, I'm giving him a furniture for the house. But you will have to pay tax, because they will say how much converted into how much money, then a certain amount of money will be deducted as tax. Okay, I'm giving a fridge. So other than these things, anything given to an employee for his benefit will be taxed. But so organizations, what do? They give something. Say, for example, I'm giving internet allowance. I'm giving what? Periodical allowance. I'm giving mobile allowance. I'm giving a laptop allowance. I'm giving to set up these days, you have to work from home. So I'm giving furniture for his office setup. Anything which I give for the benefit of improving his work, for the benefit of the organization, that is not taxable. So it will come under
Reimbursement.
So organizations, what do? So what all can come? Petrol can come, no? Traveling for the
Internet.
purpose of business, your what? Mobile phone,
Internet allowance.
internet,
reimbursement.
to the extent of anything you are giving him, upgrade, like these certifications,
Food allowance. No.
what allowance?
Food can be food.
And see, food allowance, for what are you giving? That's important. Entertainment allowance
Entertainment
for
allowance.
entertaining customers, but all this will be tax exempt only when you give what? Are you with me? You have to support them with bills. You have to support them with bills.
Bills.
Let me give you a very interesting case. Airtel, I'm sure all of you know about Airtel, right? It's a telecom company. So in their appointment letter, they wrote to all the employees saying that you will be given maybe varying to an amount of 2,000 rupees, what? Free calling time. How much? 2,000 rupees free calling time. Now I'm asking you, think, does it call for tax deduction? Quick.
Yes, it's a benefit given by the company.
It's a benefit. You have given a benefit, right? What is the benefit? What benefit have they given?
Free airtime worth rupees
Free
2,000.
airtime. Worth 2,000 rupees.
So unless and
Okay.
until it is a business expenditure, it will be taxed in the hand of employee.
Is it? Now, I've written it in the appointment letter, free airtime. So now what? The taxman came, and let me tell you, this is a real case where they had to pay some huge, it ran to crores because they had not paid, the employee had not. So this is deducted from the employee. So because it has been not done, or if you are saying I'm giving a benefit, then the employer has to pay. So there is nothing free. Are you getting me? Other than whatever is there as per the tax, income tax, if you are giving a free airtime of 2000, you have to pay what? Tax on that. The employee has to pay tax on that. Are you with me? That's what I'm trying to tell you very clearly. Even if you are giving him in kind any benefit, it will attract tax to the equivalent amount. Got it? Very clear, guys? Okay. Any questions? Then we can further go on, because then we will, when we are deciding on basic etc, when components, I'll explain a little more. Okay, this is clear. Any questions?
No, ma'am.
Apart from this, any other like reimbursement kind or perquisites can be added? Huh?
Other than this tax exempt, let me tell you, in reimbursements, you can give any amount, justify it, but not saying that everybody is getting 20,000 rupees as conveyance allowance. Huh?
Yeah, I see.
Huh? And let me tell you what happened in one company. Huh? So the taxman came. It was a company where they were also sending people to what? Offshore. So they saw that everybody is getting 20,000 amount. Now, first they said how many of them are there, offshore, and how many of them are there on the job in this Indian location. Then 50% of them were actually offshore, but then they were still getting conveyance allowance of 20,000 rupees per annum. Now, can you actually do that? So once the taxman actually finds out something, then you know what happens. Then he will dig for more data, past how many years they've been doing this. So don't do things like that. Be very, very clear, be very particular. Even if you are giving some allowance, get the bills, ensure that it is justified, and not just give randomly. So you need to really justify. Like Devi was asking, can we give? Yes. Under reimbursements, people, organizations give, but you need to justify, because what is reimbursement? That means it is for the what? Benefit of the organization. If
Organization,
you are
yeah.
giving some stationery, if you have allowance, if you are giving some internet, mobile, petrol, entertainment, club, that is corporate club allowance, all this is for the benefit of improving maybe customers, etc. Okay, Devi, got it?
Yeah, agreed. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Okay. So the next one, let us talk about unions. We were talking, and I'll just take 2 minutes here about unions. Unions are also a very important part of the compensation, because they have an impact. Typically, in today's times, I think it's relevant to most of the manufacturing organizations, because I don't know how many of you have unions there. Because what happens is the unionized members uh, and the non-unionized may start at the same salary, but you will see that over a period of time, the unionized guy gets a better treatment, preferential treatment, as opposed to the non-unionized. So as a head HR, as a competent person, you have to ensure that there is parity between both what you are paying to the union and the non-union, if the job is the same. That's the point. Okay. So no discrimination. But I know, in manufacturing organizations, what happens, A non-unionized guy, they take actually contractual staff doing the same work, and they pay them almost 60 to 70% of the salary they pay to your full-time employee. And I have actually been a consultant to some organizations where there have been huge strikes just because of this. Right? Huge. Okay, but I doubt if there's anybody in manufacturing organizations, anybody here who is working in a union environment? None, right? Happen? Yeah, you work.
Previously,
So,
not in present organization, but previously I was.
yeah. So you can share. In fact, I'm sure you'll agree with me, where
Yes.
the employer or the HR guy or the IR person takes the advantage of this, and
Yes, ma'am. Yes. Correct.
gives preferential treatment to union people because the union leader takes care of them, and the non-unionized get the
Only minimum wages. Non-unionized
minimum
gets the
wages,
minimum
etc.,
wages, and
etc.
the unionized used to get a much better pay, facilities, and everything.
Absolutely. When it comes to minimum wages, globally you have minimum wages. I just want to stress that point as well. And in India, it is a little complex. And I'm sure as payroll guys and even Tapan, can you tell me minimum wages has how many criteria? We have 3 criteria, right?
Yeah.
So the minimum wage is dependent on what? State,
Food,
industry, and the skill.
Skilled and unskilled.
Whether it is semi-skilled, unskilled, no? So this it is a little complex. So you have to define all this and then pay the minimum wages. Okay. All right. Let us come to the economical changes. So as a competent person, when there is inflation, what do? We actually then factor in it by what do we do? How do we hike the salary? We look at what? We look at the cost of inflation and give them a COLA, cost of living index. So typically there is a certain percentage of COLA added to it, or even when people are transferred from, a low cost of living to a high cost of living, what do? You then ensure that the gap in terms of the increase in the COLA, you actually increase it by that much of that percentage. Okay. Then there is one more very interesting thing when we talk about the economical changes and also demographics. What is that? The most important thing we talk about is we also have to look at the demand and supply. In your own organization, in your own organization, hey, what is the labor market looks like? Which category of jobs there's a huge demand in my organization, but the supply is short of? Because what happens every time there's a high demand, but there's a short of supply, what happens to compensation? You tell me your own personal experience. What happens? Anybody?
Yeah, it gets increased. So
Increase. So I need to pay, right?
yeah.
So as a good competent person, say for example, 60%, I'll share my experience. I used to be the head of, I don't know how many of you heard of Sutherland. It's a big multinational healthcare. Now,
Yes.
Nagendra would
Yes.
be knowing. So I used to be the vice president there. Now, we had a business vertical called medical coding. Okay. Now, huge high profit margins. Now there's a huge demand for medical coders. Okay. And I'm being in the vertical, so I have to constantly what hire people, but the supply is less. What do you think I need to do as a competent person? I can't keep increasing the salary. So I need to develop or build a talent pipeline. And let me share our experience, what we did in Sutherland. So what happened, what we did was, now we used to have high attrition because, the mom and pop shops who would come, they would like to have people who are all fully qualified with experience. They will pay 2 times the salary and then poach them. Now we can't keep increasing our salaries because of attrition. So we started a medical coding college wherein we recruited people of science background. uh, Medical doctors, very difficult, right? So we took what allopathic, homeopathy doctors, everybody who had at least a good science background. Then we gave them training for 1.5 years. And then we brought them in and we tied them up for 3 years, giving them a hike every year. So what we did was creating a pipeline so that it's okay even if we have attrition, except dealing with 1% or 2%. But we don't have to increase the salaries, because by increasing the salaries, what will happen? Tell me. My wage cost increases.
Correct.
If my percentage of wage cost increases, what is the impact on the business? My profits will reduce. So the CEO will say, hey, what is my percentage of wage cost? 20%, 30%. And he will benchmark it with other industry, same competitor, and say, no, because that is the index he's going to bother about. That's a key metric. So he'll say, hey, but this can't be. What we call it as what? ECR ratio. ECR. What is ECR? Employee cost to revenue ratio, which we will talk about sometime later. Okay. So the wage cost can't afford to. So we need to, as a component ban, it is not just designing a salary structure. Okay. We need to look at all these things. Hey, where am I getting my talent from? What kind of people I need? Huh? So I do the segmentation, and then can I get them at a lesser wage cost and start training them? So these are some of the things which I really need to look at. Okay. Anybody who has done some things in the area of talent pipeline, guys? Any experiences to share?
Nothing from me. Nimla, I have a
Okay.
quick question. Is there any
Yep.
formula to determine the wage cost? You know, how to find the wage cost?
Absolutely. I just mentioned about it because I thought I will just leave a thought, but definitely it doesn't end there. I'm going to talk about it in my fourth session, where you will be calculating the entire employee cost to revenue.
Okay.
How will you look at, then how will you reduce it? What are some
Okay.
of the various ways? Okay.
Okay.
Is that
Good.
okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So when we looked at economical changes, we said inflation. We also looked at demand and supply, essentially. All right. Because that definitely drives the wage rate. Now, when we are looking at the sociological changes, the society has changed, right? In what way? If you actually look at in today's times, as opposed to 2 decades ago, what is happening? Today, when we are talking about our workforce, a lot of us, the younger workforce, want to what? Work for a couple of years, take a sabbatical, want to study, or maybe want to do something else. So organizations cannot be rigid about, no, I cannot let people go. I mean, I need to have people working here long tenure, which is not possible. So going with that, integrating with the needs and aspirations of your own workforce. Today we are looking at what kind of work styles? Flexibility, right?
Work from
Today,
home.
people are working from home. Two, people also working for few hours. People also are doing something called, what we say, one job but two people working for few hours. So there is a blended work style. Okay, nothing like gone 2 decades ago, like, hey, I work for only, like the Tatas, I work for only this organization, I work for 15 years, 20 years. So today you cannot even think about that. So I as a component, or I as an HR head, I have to actually look at what are the needs and aspirations of these people, the talent which I'm looking at. How can I blend my the work style so that it can be in sync? So what do you think organizations are doing? Do you know how organizations are sending people on sabbatical and saying, go and study for some time, 2 years, 3 years, right? Or even people are supporting education, say, okay, fine, if you are a quality person, okay, you do the Six Sigma, we're going to give 50% once you get the certificate. So they are upgrading them. If most of the organizations are also telling them, because they hire graduates, obviously they want to go and do their MBS or whatever higher education. They'll say, no, we're going to sponsor you, so you can still be working with us and you can still be doing, right? So you need to change your policies where the total reward concept comes up. Now, when we talk about portfolio workers, what does it mean? Today, if you notice that a lot of people, 40, 45, or even 50s, people say, hey, I've become a subject matter expert. Now I really don't want to work as a full-time person. I'm going to work for 4, 5 organizations. I have gained expertise. So have you noticed all the technical people, or even for that matter, if I'm a statutory expert, I'll say, now I don't want to do a full-time job. I'll be a statutory compliance consultant for 4, 5 organization, or a PF consultant, or comp and ben consultant. Have you seen that happening in today's times? You're not waiting till your retirement.
Yes.
People are really wanting to do that. They prefer that. Also, so the younger force is also doing this. And also what I call it as career deceleration. The older folks, they're not retiring. Take for me. Like I have my passion, so I can still work for a few hours. Huh? Maybe not few hours. I really work more than that. So you could look at people, huh, for your component band. Hey, I want subject matter experts who have retired. So maybe, like for example, I recall the times when I was the HR head. I used to take people for my statutory compliances, people who been PF commissioners, they would be, they would have the subject matter. They were experts, and I could take them for my uh, legal consultant. So I would actually outsource those jobs, and I would have people as consultants. They could come at once in a week or twice in a week and do the entire thing. I pay much lesser, but get the best people. So likewise, most of the organizations are using this concept as what? Trying to get people, retired people who are subject matter experts, paying lesser salaries, asking them to come just few hours, and you get much more, much more. Let me tell you, in fact, a very interesting example. I don't know if you all recall. Anybody recalls there is Satyam Computers, which has become now Mahindra Tech, right? Huh? The
Yes.
Satyam Computer.
Yes.
So they were also into public partner um, foundations. Like, you had this EMRI, Emergency Medical Research Institute, which had 108 as, you could call 108 and you had a medical ambulance coming immediately wherever there was an accident or a person was sick, and they would reach you to the hospital. Likewise, they started another research institute called HMRI. Okay. So what did this typically, what did the HMRI do, which was also called 104? That means medical support, okay, reach to the even the remotest corner. And how did they do that? Through call centers, having tele consulting, etc. So obviously, teleconsulting, they needed to have doctors. So they had doctors in this call center, but there was huge attrition. What do you think they would have done? I was closely associated with them, so I'd done a lot amount of work with them. So what do you think they could have done?
They
Huge
had
attrition.
consultants.
They wanted doctors. What do you think they would have done? Tell
They
me.
had a
I'm
consult. They
comp
had
and
a
ben guys.
consultant.
Huh?
They hired a consultants,
Hmm.
doctors as a consultants for a few hours.
Hmm.
Uh,
Good, good, good. Almost closer. But but this call center has to run, no? So what did they do? They actually saw that the youngsters had different aspirations. What is it? They want to do higher education. They were only parking themselves, the young doctors, for some time. So every 3 months, 2, 3 months, there was huge attrition. Now they said, okay, fine. Let us actually look at retired doctors from the government public hospitals where there were subject matter experts. They were very good, right? But what did they do? They changed the entire design of the job. Like instead of asking them to come from morning till evening, they said, hey, you just come for 4 hours. Okay. So they ran 2 shifts. So few doctors would come in the morning, few doctors would come in the evening. And then other benefits like Saturday, Sunday, there was some kind of a camaraderie. They had some club facilities because they knew each other. They could bring their families, etc. So they created a culture of this, camaraderie, friendliness, etc. So it was not for money because these people were all well settled, their children married, etc. What were they looking at? They were looking at, some kind of, sharing knowledge, some money. So they had also been given a free pickup and drop. So, and with 50% of the salary. And let me tell you guys, it was such a success model. They did not have attrition because obviously all retired doctors, they wouldn't, of course, you looked at even the health aspect of it as well. So there was such, this model really worked. So what I'm trying to say is that more and more organizations are actually getting into this. Now, this famous, you should read about Charles Handy, There's a great article written by him. He says, in the coming times, a lot many organizations are going to create their organizational structure like a donut. Donut means, have you seen this Minto or Mento, which has a hole in the middle? Have you had this? Mintos or something, hole in the middle. So
Yes.
they said that, the organization, Charles Handy said they are going to just keep the core of it as full time. And the rest will be what? Either outsourced or having portfolio workers. In fact, if you know Amazon, or if you know lot many huge retail stores, what are they doing? What we call it as the gig economy. They don't have full-time employees. What do they do? Think of the Amazon. When you actually, you know, want something and how does it get delivered to your house? Anybody? How does it get delivered?
Delivery boys.
People, the delivery boys, are they full-time employees of Amazon?
No, there are
No.
part-time, like it's a contract.
Part-time. But so you may say, hey, part-time, so you just no, but Amazon partners with them. They're actually partners. They take care of them so much that they're just not, part-time employee. But the entire thing is what? It is not a full-time job. They can do even other jobs, but then they can just do how much of delivery they have to do. So it's a very nice model which is called gig economy, which is working out very well. Even there's Zomatos and all these things which come today, the food which gets delivered at your doorstep, everything, so I think organizations are McDonald's, pizzas which come. So they are trying out many things where it's a kind of a win-win situation. So they don't have to have a full-time employees on their payroll, but yet they can really work out well with the outsource or portfolio workers, wherein you can get the maximum, support them. It doesn't mean that you actually then that's where it is. You got to take care of them, support them. It doesn't mean that, okay, fine, they are part-time employees, so I don't have to support them, etc. Okay. Any instances where you can recall or in your organizations where you have such employees which help you? Yeah. Anybody who can share their, anybody? Guys? Are you all there or not there?
Oh,
Yes,
yeah,
ma'am.
yeah.
Yes.
I have one. I have one scenario.
Uh-huh.
We were looking for a company secretary for our company,
Uh-huh.
and we were trying all these youngsters, but they came. Their aspirations were different. So then finally we did what you just said, now that there's a guy who was 62 years old and he was a retired. We wanted him, but in his case, what we gave him, we asked him, you can come twice a week. That's it.
Okay.
And for the past 2.5 years, it's working very fine. Our all the board meetings happening on time. So this is the arrangement we did. That really worked very well for us. And he's of course a quite experienced person. Whenever all the things are happening well within the time, that's the same arrangement what you just mentioned about the doctors.
Okay.
That
Excellent.
really works.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let us look at the next one called globalization. So when we say globalization, what does it mean? Anybody? What does it mean? Globalization. This word is so common, it's cliched. Yeah? Yogesh?
Yeah, so
Yogesh
globalization
will
is
say, Madam ne mere ko kyun pucha? Huh?
no.
Yeah. No.
Because globalization is something where now
Simple.
we
How do you understand? How do you relate it to? Yeah.
so where we expand the business globally, number one,
Mhm.
and number two is we have such kind of arrangement, the centric approach, through which we operate, we operate in different countries, and we you know uh, it's kind of central arrangement,
Okay. Yeah.
onshore and offshore
So
kind of arrangement.
typically it was only so now when we say competition has increased so much, competition has increased because of globalization. Because many other companies which were located elsewhere, they have also established in the country. So now you have to compete with multinationals. So what does it mean, globalization? There is a mobility of what? Typically, mobility of people moving, right? So when we talk about globalization, there are two kinds of mobility: people mobility, right? And what else? So if you notice, when we're talking about globalization, you heard of outsourcing, if you recall, outsourcing, offshoring. So people were sent, like what Infosys used to do. Huh? They would send people from here to their offshores, okay, being paid the salary what they would pay India, but they would get a per day allowance, etc., right? Okay. Now, so along with this, if you have actually seen, other than people mobility, because of the technology, with the globalization came technology, right? The technology has evolved so much that now jobs also have become mobile. There's a huge mobility of jobs. So when a job gets what? Shift, when you actually, what is happening in globalization? I'm actually getting a job from USA, a high cost job. And what am I doing? I'm actually doing that job at a low cost, right? Most of the jobs in India, whether it's a BPO or even in IT companies, what am I doing? You know, what is the cost of a software developer? How much? What is the wage you have to pay? Let me use what is the amount you have to pay for a software developer?
15 to 20
Approximately.
lakhs.
Huh?
15 to 20 lakhs.
Approximately how much? Pardon?
15 to 20 lakhs.
Say for example, if I were to pay in USA for a software developer, anywhere between, easily between 60, let me tell you guys, $60,000. Okay. So that means translates to easily what? 40, 50 lakhs?
Yeah.
40 to 50 lakhs?
Yeah.
Okay. So because of technology and because of globalization, what am I doing? I'm able to shift that job from where? A high cost, because of global, because I'm having a company here, right? High cost to a
Low cost.
low cost location where I'm able to get labor. I won't say labor, so skill sets at a lesser cost. So if you were to hire a software engineer, let me tell you, what is the least you can get? Can you get even for 3 lakhs here in India?
Yeah, starting is a 3 to
Yes.
4 lakhs.
Huh?
Yeah.
Starting is 3 to
3
4
lakhs, right?
Yeah.
Huh? Imagine the cost, if you were to hire, if you were to get the job done there. So why do you think a lot of jobs are getting shifted? Because of this. Okay. So when we talk about globalization, the interesting concept I want to tell you is, yeah. We talk about something called the economic tripwire. Have you heard of this? So when I'm shifting a job from a high cost to a low cost, think of those call center jobs. What happens? Or even if you're a software developer. So what happens? Initially, there is a huge potential for the growth of the salary initially. Why? Why? Because what? There's a huge gap between 40 lakhs and 2 lakhs or 3 lakhs or 5 lakhs. Is there a huge gap? So I can go up to how much? So there's a quick, huge, growth in the salary. But after some time, then what happens? There is stagnation. When is that stagnation coming? When I see that the gap is reducing, that is, say, for example, 40, 50 lakhs, and I have to pay 10 lakhs, 15 lakhs. So I will say, hey, even 50%, 60%, okay. But after a certain time, then there is no point shifting that job because I don't see the return on it, the profit on it. Okay. So what happens? That is called the economic tripwire. That means I do not see, it doesn't, it's a break even. I do not see a profit in shifting that job and getting it done. So typically what happens when you're shifting a job, initially the jobs, look at call center jobs, look at any other job. Initially what happens, there's a huge growth in the salary because of the gap in the high cost and the low cost. But as you keep paying, then the gap reduces, and then there is a certain amount where then you really cannot increase. So that is called the economic tripwire. So when most of the IT companies, what do? They work out, hey, is it really beneficial for us financially to shift this job at this cost? So only when is it beneficial and profitable? Only when I'm able to hire people at a lower cost. If I'm not able to hire people at a lower cost, then I don't make sufficient profits. Tapan, make sense?
Yes,
Are
ma'am.
you able to? Huh?
Yes.
Yeah. Any questions, guys? So we have actually finished one module called the environmental factors. Now, I would actually want you to reflect in your organization. Huh? And to the industry you are actually working in, what are some of those key external factors which are impacting? Is it some government regulations? Is it the demographics? Is it the demand and supply of a certain skill sets? You need to look at, then how do you combat them? Okay, you need to look at them. And what is that you are doing in your compensation in such a way that you are able to actually offset the entire thing? Okay, guys? All right. We just finished one module where we talked about the external factors which impact compensation. And we talked about four critical factors, which included government regulations, then collective bargaining through unions. Then we talked about demographics, social changes, and globalization. Now, let us actually go a little deep down and understand what is compensation, the elements of compensation. And if we have time, then we'll also look at equity theory. Okay. So, what is compensation? Compensation, I'm sure all of you know that, it is something, the value that an employee receives. It could be in the form of monetary, non-monetary, for the effort he puts in, for the performance he puts in, he gets certain kind of an amount. Now, what's critical here about the compensation as compensation experts, we need to understand. Let me just first show you. Yeah. So the compensation system, when we talk about, essentially, forget about the lower things. We talk about indirect and direct. Okay. Anybody who can tell me what is, let me go to the whiteboard. So I said direct and indirect. What is indirect and what is direct? Broadly,
Direct.
we categorize compensation into direct and indirect. So what is it?
So like regular pay or basic pay, the
Okay.
and the
Anybody else?
incentive, bonus, that has direct pay.
Direct and
And like
indirect. Yeah, indirect. Okay. So broadly, when we say compensation, it is direct and indirect pay. So what is direct pay and what is indirect pay? Typically, when you are, guys, when we talk
So-
about yeah. Somebody was saying something. Let
Yeah.
me hear out. Huh.
yeah, ma'am. So indirect pay is
non-monetary thing. Like if you are paying for an insurance.
Direct pay is all about cash.
Yeah.
Money. Okay. The money which you get month on month or maybe in a year or two max. Okay. It's all about cash, monetary. Monetary. Okay. Indirect pay is all about non-monetary. I can give it to you in kind, or any benefit, anything which is indirect. So when we talk about compensation benefit, you know that, we are not only giving cash on a month-on-month basis as a guaranteed salary, but there are also various other benefits which are non-monetary. You may say, hey, but ma'am, gratitude, we get a salary or, but then that's actually you get it at the end of 5 years, 6 years, right? But when we talk about direct pay, it's strictly about cash and everything which you get, or maybe in the 1 or 2 years. Now, how does an organization decide whether I should pay more of direct pay, which is cash, and less of indirect pay? How does it decide on the proportion? What is the principle behind this payment structuring? Any clue?
No clue, ma'am. Actually, I'm
Huh?
very curious to know, is there anything, any standard is there? Because we are just copying each other. What is
Okay.
happening in other companies, we are copying it without
Okay.
knowing that what is the requirement and what should be the percentage between the two.
Yeah.
Very, very important. Okay. Why do we think in Dubai, in Middle East, typically a person gets what? A lump sum amount. Of course, they do one element that is called HRA, because end of the contract money is dependent on what the base salary is. Number of years, base salary he gets end of. So to reduce that amount, they will add a break in the salary by giving HRA. Now, why in India we have so many components? So this direct and indirect pay is dependent on what? Tax. You are with me? Okay. So if the company wants to give more, so that is why you have indirect pay. Otherwise, I can give everything in a lump sum amount, 1 lakh rupees, and say, hey, Nishant, you're getting 1 lakh rupees or 2 lakh rupees, no salary breakup, nothing. But because of this taxation, how do I reduce? How do I take the benefit of tax exemptions? Based on that, I'll have direct pay and indirect pay. Are you with me, guys?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it makes sense,
Yes, it does.
because if you notice, many of the companies where you have a build model. Build means I will not actually typically buy from the market at my lateral or senior positions. I will actually grow my own talent. Like say, for example, Tata's. Their salaries are say about average 60th percentile. They're not, the top of the market. But have you looked at their benefits? A person who works for a Tata company gets a house, he gets so many other benefits. Why? Because that defines the culture. You want him to stay for a longer time. So you feel that, okay, fine, if I give him all the benefits, like a house, a car, a gardener, etc., then what happens? He will stay, he will feel good. He will actually become like a member of my family as an organization. If you have noticed, the Tata companies typically develop a family culture. So depending on the culture also, you actually have this direct pay and indirect pay, and mostly it is based on the taxation. Now, having said that, let us actually look at what are the various components and how it, let us derive meaning.
Yeah, I have a
Yeah.
question here, ma'am. As you mentioned that for the indirect, so the government brought in indirect pay because because we have tax system in India, whereas in Dubai this is not there because they are getting the lump sum amount. So, but my question is, I have seen that in UK, US market, right, where they have this direct and indirect pay concept where because the employers are get in US. Let's say if I'm taking an example of US, they are paying regular pay, right?
Absolutely.
And then also they are providing the benefit like medical benefit, dental benefit, and the other benefit, and the vacations
Absolutely.
and all.
Absolutely.
So
Essentially, again, it is all related to wage cost. You may say, but they are getting very high salaries. So,
okay.
in comparison to the US market, I've just been there for 6 months. I've been doing some work there as well. So in comparison to that market, okay?
Yeah.
And do you know what kind of taxation they have to pay?
Yeah, I know.
So, but why I took Dubai example was there's no taxation there. Now
Yeah.
they're introducing some amount. So you break it up only when, so you want to give the advantage to your employee. Got it?
Yeah.
So therefore, then you actually look at, okay, can I give him more benefits, more perks, etc. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah. Got it.
All right. Now, so don't look at indirect pay now. Let us only look at direct pay. All right.
Yeah.
Now, if you say direct pay and I said it's all about cash, now the first component of this direct pay is base salary. When I say base pay, what does it mean? That means a guaranteed salary. Month on month, you get that salary. If I've actually hired Tapan, say for 20 lakhs or 30 lakhs, his guaranteed salary is per month 1 lakh of rupees. Irrespective of his performance, I'm going to give him that salary month on month. That is the base pay. Got it? Guaranteed salary. Don't mistake base pay for basic. Are you with me, guys? Now, when I talk about base pay, now I can give this base pay as 50,000. Okay. Or break it up into salary components, which will give me tax exemption. So if I pay a person 50,000, it will attract tax for the entire amount. But if I again break it up into basic, HRA, standard deduction, etc., and then give him, then what will happen? The tax will be reduced. Are you with me now? And this amount is guaranteed pay. And whatever over and above, after you have actually incorporated all your elements, then there is another item. I'm sure all of you know about it: special allowance. It is
Yeah.
not some special allowance. Whatever you have actually added in your basic, in your HR, etc. Over and above that, that amount goes into the special allowance item, and tax, you got to pay tax for that. Okay. Now, having said that, this base pay is arrived at by doing what we call it as job evaluation. That means the worth of the job. Now, how can organizations be fair and equitable? By doing job evaluation, I will then evaluate the worth of the job and say, yes, payroll manager has to be paid this much, or HR manager operations will be paid this much. This is a base salary. Very, very clear, guys? This part, base salary, this
Yes.
is arrived at by what? Job evaluation. Now there is something else called variable pay. Base pay is guaranteed. It does not come with any contingency, but variable pay, as the word describes, varies. What is it? Variable pay. It is varies. That means it is not guaranteed. Variable pay is not guaranteed. Let me just take you to a blackboard. When we talk about a variable pay, there are many ways of looking at this variable pay. Is now it has 4 criteria. Okay, let us take the easiest criteria first. Hardship allowance. I've heard of hardship allowance. Okay, people who work hard. Say, for example, a call center employee who works at night and who works also in the daytime. So a person who works at night, he is given something called what?
Night shift allowance.
Night shift allowance. This is a variable pay. The moment he shifted from a night shift to a daytime, what will happen? His night shift allowance will be withdrawn. It is not factored into base salary. It is variable. Now, so hardship allowance can be given, think quickly. For what all?
Overtime.
Ma'am,
overtime.
we have a project size where some territorial condition is some kind of like risky areas. We do provide some, I mean, to encourage
Absolutely,
employees.
absolutely, absolutely.
We
So,
provide.
so even hill area
Yeah,
where it's or like for example, it's a dangerous,
yeah,
risky area. Nobody
risky
wants to
areas,
go. So you are actually putting one allowance because there is some kind of a hardship there. Rig allowance, people who work
machineries.
in if you know merchant in the merchant navy, people get what 3 months on and 3 months off. That means they get 3 months leave. Why do they get? Because there's so much of effort there. Or train allowance, there is some kind of a hardship there when he's driving. Or deputation allowance or teller allowance. Why are you giving it as an allowance? My question is, and not adding it to his base salary?
These are the variables. Variable.
No, it's variable, of course, but why can't we add it in the salary, base salary itself?
This will be
Because,
changed.
because he may, I mean, the nature of the job is not such that it's going to be constant. Maybe
Yeah,
after,
it's not
he
fixed
will
one.
be shifted, or maybe for some time deputation, for some time cashier is only working for certain period. So therefore, the nature of the job is also contingent. So whenever he works, he gets the variable allowance. Got it? Like say, for example, I'll give you another very clear example. There are two HR people who are working in the payroll. Got it? Now, same title, same designation, etc. They're working. But one guy, he has to actually go get the cash from the bank, then drive down 50 miles to a remote location, disburse the salary and come. So, do you think it is fair to give the same salary to both the guys who's working in the office and who's also going?
It's unfair.
So, I
It's
need to
unfair.
give some hardship allowance, right? Huh?
Yeah.
Till the time he's doing the job. So, that is called hardship. When two people are doing the same thing, but one person is doing over and above something, then you give him a hardship allowance. Okay, is that clear, guys? Please, huh?
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
a one type of variable pay. Now the other variable pay is called merit. What does merit mean? Merit means something, extra. So in merit, we talk about two kinds of things. What? Cross skill and upskill. Now, if you notice in most of the organizations, even in IT organizations, like for example, I'll give you an example, cross skill. In a manufacturing organization, I am hiring what? A fitter. Okay. Now, in his appointment letter, I'll write, if you actually acquire welding skills, you get an extra allowance. So this guy goes, gets, and then he goes to the training academy where he is tested for assist and he gets an extra allowance. What is the advantage? Volkswagen does that, mind you. What is the advantage? What is the advantage? Too many competent people here. What is the advantage?
Sorry, I didn't follow your question.
Say Volkswagen,
Yeah.
it is hiring fitters.
Okay.
In the appointment letter, they also write that if you acquire welding certification, then you get an extra allowance, extra increment. Okay. So now this employee, he will go train himself. Then the training academy of Volkswagen, they actually assess him, and then he gets an extra allowance for welding. What is the advantage for Volkswagen? Why do such manufacturing
Because
organizations
the
promote
person,
this?
so Volkswagen will not have to go outside to look for a person who is good at the welding, because they just got cross trained cross skill this person, and because, so let's say, it is taking 3 lakh for them to hire that welding person, whereas they just have to pay 50,000 to get this training done, and the person knows how to do that. So it's kind of saving, and it's kind of benefit for Volkswagen. So one person can do both.
Okay, great. So most of the organizations, like for example, in IT organization, you have a coder, you also make them a quality certification. Okay. Hmm? So what they will actually do is they will ensure that they will cross skill the people. They would like to have their employees cross skill. What is the advantage for the organizations? A, say for example, quoting the same fitter and welder. In say in the talent market, the welder comes at a lower wage cost, but the fitter, but the welder comes at a higher wage cost. Don't you think this organization is in an advantageous mode where they can actually then keep hiring fitters, and whenever these fitters get trained in welding and welding certification, they can actually then move them to welders and then keep, so they're building a talent pipeline. Will you agree?
Yes.
By doing such thing, say maybe they are taking care of sometimes seasonal variations, production loads are very high, or people when they go out, leaves, turnovers, they don't have to hire many people. You can actually hire few people and make them multi-skilled so that it takes care of their turnover and also absenteeism, etc., etc. So that way they are keeping their weight cost low and yet motivated. People are motivated because you're giving them extra allowances. Making sense, guys?
Yes, it does.
In today's times, they are actually getting into cross skilling, which we actually call most of the organizations have got into cross skilling and upskilling. While upskilling is what? I'll give you a very interesting example. Say in a bank, a city bank, I have hired a BCom guy. Okay. BCom. Now I find that these graduates in commerce, some of them are top performers. Now I want to retain them. Okay. So I'll tell them, hey guys, in 5 years, in 2 years, if you do your chartered accountancy CAIB one, and in the second year and in the fourth year two, you will be promoted to a finance manager. I'm giving him what a milestones. And every time you do this, you get an extra allowance. When you do CAIB, you get one increment. When you do CAIB 2, you get 2 increments. All right. And when you are promoted, again, you get a higher increment. So I'm giving him a kind of a career growth for my top performers. So what happens? I get motivated. My high performers then stretch themselves, get these certifications, and then I'm able to also retain them. So I'm using this as a retention tool when I say, hey, by upskilling them, I also am actually making a kind of a retention tool and creating a career growth map for my high performers. Most of the organizations are also doing upskilling and retaining their 20 or 30% of their high performers in such way. Because that recruiting people is much more an expensive proposition as in compared to retaining your people, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So have you experienced this in your own organizations? Cross-skilling and upskilling?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
Can you give, I'm sure Cognizant does in a big way. Yeah, can you give us some, how you do it in your organization, guys?
I just give, my example where, I have been
Uh-huh.
managing HR operations and the payroll.
Okay,
Then I got cross skill in the payroll operation as to how to manage for the, US, UK geography. And then
right.
now the compensation and benefit part is being introduced for the, for the HR operation as well, So these kind of, cross skill that, you know, is one of the example. And
Okay.
yeah.
So organizations don't want to let go of their high performers. Okay. So they are using cross-skilling and upskilling as retention tools to retain their people. Okay. Now the third type, it's called hot skill allowance or market linked retention bonus. Have you heard of this? Hot
Yes.
skill allowance or market linked retention bonus. Applicable to most of the IT. Today's market is so hot, competitive. So what happens? Maybe like, today cloud computing has become very, very hot because why? The demand for these jobs have become very high and the supply is less. And a lot of companies startups have come up and they are actually shrinking the talent pool. What do you do now? You will definitely say, hey, I'm using that skill. So maybe a Java or a cloud computing. So you'll say for the next 1 year or 2 years, all people who have this skill are going to get something called a hot skill allowance or a market linked retention bonus. If you don't give that, what will happen? Obviously, you will lose your people and they will go to competitors. So you will give them an allowance, but you won't put it in their base salary. You will give it till a time for 1 year, 2 years. Because as you know, that after some time, then, like for example, earlier on, cloud computing, AI, all these skills, initially they will be very hot. And after some time, then because of the training institute, there's so many, then there will be sufficient supply. At that point of time, so if you are going to hike up their salary, then you got to pay them till the time they are there. So typically what happens, you give it as a variable pay rather than factoring it in their base salary. Okay. So any of you in your organizations giving this hot skill or market linked retention bonus?
No, ma'am.
Cognizant does it, I'm sure. Right?
Sorry, I was
And
just speaking on mute. Yeah, so it was happened back in 2021 where demand was really high and supply was low. So we introduced this hot skill allowance through which we could retain good
some
people
of
and
the
can hire good people as well. So yeah,
competence is required.
correct.
So, but now let me tell you. But what happened was initially, even Tata's, Infosys, TCS, everybody was giving. Thereafter, what happened? Then people with other skills other than that hot skill, they said, hey, but even our competencies, our skills are also very, very critical. I have this certification, I have this technology certification, they are very critical. So how can you say that it's only that? So now the large organization stopped giving hot skill and MLRB. Why? Because what they did was they said, hey, now we have always a bench strength. And I hope all of you know what is the bench strength in IT company. That means
Yes.
people who have finished these projects and right now they are not working on any project. They are called bench strength, okay?
Yeah.
On the bench. Now, those people only get base salary or guaranteed salary. They don't get variable pay.
Yes.
Right now, it's very important and critical for the employer to retain them. Otherwise, what they will do? They will actually look out for openings and they go out. Now, they created what they call it as, based on the kind of projects which are coming in the future. So that's how it is, the HR strategy is aligned with the business. Then they do, hey, these are the hot skills we need. So constantly what happens, people who are on the bench, they're trained in these future skills which are required for the company. So therefore, whenever there are projects and with the required skill sets, you have always in readiness your employees who have those skill sets. And you don't have to buy from the market at a much higher wage. Got it, guys? Huh?
Yes. Yes.
But the small mom and pop shops and small companies, they can't afford to have bench strength or people on the bench because they're constantly churning them from one project to other. That's how they maximize. No, they can't afford to have. So they have to pay something called the hot skill or the MLRP. Is it clear? This part of it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So these are three kinds of variable pays where you have talked about hard allowance, hardship allowance, merit, and hot skill. Now, the classic. So, what could be the other variable pay category? Pay for?
Performance linked bonus.
Pay for performance. Classic, right? When we talk about performance, can you tell me a classic example of a variable pay for performance?
Incentives.
Yeah. Sales incentive, right? Huh? Achieve more, you get sales. Right? So when we talk about pay for performance, huh? Can this performance be at an individual level?
Yes.
You can have individual incentive plans, right? Okay, individual. Individual incentive plans. Can you give me an example, guys? Quick.
Incentive.
In your organization, I'm not asking you all to come out with any individual incentive plans in your organization.
It
We
is
pay them
variable pay based on achievement of certain KRAs.
Yeah, your certain carriers, and if you have actually achieved over and above, you will get some kind of an individual incentive.
Yes.
Can
Yes.
they be a team incentive plans at a team
Yes.
level also?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
Yes. They want
Absolutely.
any
You
team
have
who completed project, any project, they will get.
absolutely team projects if you have completed on time with the specific SLRs in the sense that specific KPIs, then you get your team incentive. Can there be also at a organization level?
Yes.
Yes, there can
Huh?
be.
Yes.
It is
There
based
can
on
be.
EBITDA
So,
or the working capital
so
flow.
when we talk about organization level, we typically call it as what?
Profit and loss. Whenever they make a profit or
Right? So when all the books are balanced and then at the end of the year, the profits then they're shared. No, certain percentage of profit is shared across all levels of the employees across the organization. No, there is also something called gain sharing. Now, there is a difference between gain sharing and profit sharing, guys. Okay? Gain sharing is more at an operational level. When I say operational level, why? Why do you have gain sharing? Gain sharing is also a team incentive. For example, team incentive. For example, at a location, say for example, in a manufacturing location, you want that location to achieve certain productivity targets month on month. Now, to achieve the productivity targets, it needs collaboration of all the people in that location. Okay. So you fix certain productivity targets based on the previous targets. And then to achieve that, the entire location people have to collaborate with each other to ensure that they achieve that. And the gains of that is shared on a month on month basis. Over and above they have achieved, it's shared. So it is more operational. But profit sharing is at the end of the year when you make profits. Have you understood the difference? So typically when you do gain sharing, they're also looking at, cost cutting, reuse of material, time, quality, etc. of the production. Like for example, even gain sharing could be, related to say, you have to create a software and the software has a certain criteria within the time and so many bugs should not be there. So there's all the quality metrics given. So therefore, all the people who come together and work together, collaborate, and they have to achieve that software within a particular time. And then if they have done that, then they're given what the what is it the amount which has been assigned is shared equally among the team members. Okay, but sometimes what happens, gain sharing is also there in like in construction, depending on the level and the nature. It could be individual percentage so much and then group percentage so much. So depending on the task. But then essentially gain sharing is promoted in every organization today because there is a requirement of collaboration everywhere. You agree? Yeah? Have you understood this, guys? Huh?
Yes.
No, yes, no.
Yes.
Huh?
Yes,
Any
yes.
clarifications here?
No, ma'am.
No, nothing.
Okay. Now the most important thing I'm asking you, let me see now who will answer this. I want to provoke you. How do you actually determine which job should get high percentage of variable and which job should not get which job should not be included in the variable pay? How do you decide on that? I always seen in as an HR head, ma'am, why should HR have even 10% also as a variable pay? Huh? Finance also will say, why should we have as we should have everything guaranteed pay, should not have it all. How do you decide on this percentage of variable pay?
Based on the project they completed or what revenue they generate.
No. I think
The job, which has an impact in the organization, will have this incentive plan. So, these are the executive level and all, because their performance, the organization performance depend on their performance. That's why it is linked with that.
Okay, I'll first give you an example and then tell me how. Okay. All right. So there is a sales guy in a small retail shop. Okay. Retail shop selling, say, maybe tea. Oh, sorry. So selling maybe what? Tea. Small retail shop. Okay. Now he makes, say, 100 units of sales per day, who an average performer. In the same retail shop, there is another guy who's a high performer and he makes maximum, say, about 150 units. Okay. And this guy is a high performer. I've taken data. Now, in an insurance company, an insurance guy, sales guy, okay, he makes, say, maybe 100 units, average performer, okay, but the high performer makes high performer. All right. What does it go to say? In this retail shop of a tea, a small shop, tea, where he's selling tea, average guy makes 100 units and a high performer makes 150 units. Insurance guy, a sales guy, he makes 100 units, an average guy, and a high performer makes 500 units. What do you make of it? There is something called performance elasticity. Before even I actually assign a certain percentage, high, low basic, high variable, or high basic, low variable, I have to see whether this job has performance elasticity. Are you with me? What is performance elasticity? I can make out performance elasticity by taking some data. Generally, you will get an idea what is the average guy performing and what is the high performer performing. Very important, guys, because in your organizations, you will be able to. So what happens in this, even if a high performer performs very well, there is no elasticity in the job. So high performance only. But in insurance guy, There is huge elasticity. If he performs more, he can perform. There is huge elasticity of them. So what happens here for insurance? So I can have low base. Okay. And high variable. Then what will happen? Tell me, in an insurance company for an insurance guy, then a high performer, I'm giving scope for him to perform higher and higher and higher. Are you with me? He can make more. But if I don't have high variable, then this guy will not get motivated. So my productivity will be impacted. But whereas here, if I'm going to keep high variable, there is no scope for actually performing more than if so I cannot have, so I will have a minimum amount of variable. Please think about it. For example, think about it. I'm giving HR example. Payroll guy and recruiter. If I say payroll guy and recruiter, both will have what? 20% variable pay. Huh? Sorry. Do you think?
35.
Pardon?
It
Yeah.
could be more.
Huh?
For recruiter, it could be more. Right?
So the point, yeah, somebody got. So the point I'm trying to say that if I'm only going to keep 20% or 50%, recruiter will say, hey, what's the point of working more harder and harder? In any case, my variable pay is not much, but the job has scope. But if I push high variable pay to payroll, but my job does not allow me, then if I have a high variable, I'll be demotivated. Are you now able to connect what job should have high variable pay and what job should have low variable pay? Because most of the organizations make this mistake sometimes. No? So obviously they'll say, hey, it's not justified. I'm not motivated because, I want to make more. I want to stretch. I'm a high performer, but variable pay. So in most of the organizations, if you have seen the selling organizations, their base salary will be less because they're trying to actually ensure that their high performers stretch more, earn more for themselves, and make more, achieve higher targets. Are you with me, guys? This point of performance elasticity.
Yeah.
So, ma'am, how to
So
define this
does it make
technically?
sense when I say recruiter should have higher amount of variable pay so that he is able to, or if not, if you say, hey, I can't have a different system for him, then for every time, so this is what is minimum 10 people. If you recruit and if over and above, I'm going to give you an incentive. Got it?
And what is
And
the
the
technical
criteria
name
could
that
be,
we can
it
assign?
could be the cost of hire, it could be the lead time, etc. Yeah, Tapan is saying something. Tell me, Tapan.
Yeah. What is the technical name that we can assign between the difference of these two?
Pardon? Technical name? I didn't get exactly,
I mean,
Tapan.
what is the difference between the two? How to define that difference? It is something which we have felt.
So is there any logic behind this, as to how to find whether this job should have, this much of the performance elasticity? Is there any logic to determine this?
No, you can't decide if this job should have. I'm not talking about what percentage of performance elasticity. No, in your organization, when you are designing incentive pays or when you are assigning a percentage of variable pay, okay, and you will also then wanting to check, hey, am I doing a good job? Then take some data. Take data. Say, for example, you take the data of a high performer and an average performer. Then you will be able to know that if this is the highest, this is what a high performer achieves. You have to take the data at least for over a period of time and see, hey, people can make this much. That means there is sufficient amount of performance elasticity. That means I can actually assign so much of variable pay. Only then people who can perform better will be motivated.
Okay. Now
And there is no elasticity in that, but I'm actually assigning more variable pay, then the person will get demotivated because my take home salary is less because most of it is variable pay, but I have no scope for making variable pay. Did you get my point now?
yes, I got it.
So by and large, you know, operation, production, they're all it is variable because targets, hard figures, right? So that is why you have noticed that in most of the organizations where it is directly responsible, you can actually show some hard targets. The variable pay is a little higher. And where it is support, for example, an IT or an HR or a finance, where there is no, you are only supporting. There is an indirect, of course. So there is not much of a scope for performing. So you will see that in most of the organization, the HR, the finance, the IT will have only what at different levels only 5 to 10% of variable pay. Have you seen? Whereas for sales, for operations, you will have higher variable pay. Did you get me? Have you
Yes.
got that essence of what I'm trying to tell you?
Yes. Yes.
But we
Ma'am,
will do a
mo-
little more when we are designing an incentive pay. Okay? When we
Okay.
are going to design in our session variable pay, we'll definitely do a little more in that.
Ma'am,
Okay, guys?
most of the organizations have a definite percentage which they assign as a CTC. 15% of the CTC will be the variable. And it is across the table for all
Yeah.
departments.
Yeah.
So
So
the
does it
point,
make sense or is it a wrong thing to do?
no. Tapan, you are absolutely right. The point I'm trying to make here is most of the organizations will have a variable pay of 10 to 15%, a range of 10 to 15%. For which functions? For HR, for finance, for IT, where they're indirect. There is nothing like a measurable targets. But you will have a variable pay because if you don't have that variable pay, you are, the ability to stretch, to see the line of sight you will have. But when it comes to sales, when it comes to operations, you'll have a higher variable pay because it is directly linked to what? Hard figures, actuals, production numbers. If you produce this much, you will get this much. If you produce over and above, you will get this much.
Okay.
Are you with me now? So
Yes.
you are not,
Yes.
I'm not
Yeah.
here trying to say that every job you will start giving a different percentage of variable pay. I'm talking in general about a variable pay. How do you assign variable pay? The low basic and high variable pay or high variable pay, low basic, because you have to essentially see if the job or the function has performance elasticity. And how do you know it has performance elasticity? I gave you some data backup saying that you look at a high performer and a low performer. Is there scope? So that will also give you a sense in your organization when you're doing things. Hey, see, I have kept so much of percentage, but actually, if I look at the data, it is contradicting. So can I make changes? That's where I'm coming from. Are you with me?
Ma'am, I share my experience. I have worked with
Sure.
Eastern Group also. So
Please, please.
there we have very strong system of variable pay based on KRA and the achievement of targets and everything. But it is across the table 15% of your fixed CTC. Even the salesperson have a 15%. And this logic was given by lot many HR colleagues and other people. They came up with the suggestion that why can't production have a production incentive and sales have a sales incentive in addition to regular CTC. But that has been opposed by the German bosses. They say that everybody needs a security and why there has to be a discrimination between two employees. So we continued with the system of having a fixed CTC plus 15% variable irrespective of the function. And it is hardly, sales team has opposed it that we also have a family, we need a sales security also. Why should we have a less as a fix and more as a variable? Market conditions are not in our hand. So we also need a security, we also need a certainty in our life. We cannot work in that way. So how
Okay.
to
Okay.
calibrate
Yeah.
it?
Coming to this point, there are two things about it. companies, you said German company. So there are certain cultures, okay? Cultures which say, hey, we have to protect. We have to protect. When you're giving, I mean, a variable pay, base pay, which is, up to a certain percentage, that means you're wanting to protect, guaranteed, month on month, right? When the word variable comes, that means it's various. Today I'll get 100 rupees, tomorrow I'll get 200 rupees, day after maybe I won't get anything. Okay. Having said that, there are two ways people are looking at it. I'll give you a very simple example. Public sector in India did not have a concept of variable pay. Did not have a concept of any public sector. In fact, my batchmate was executive director, for Power Finance Corporation. They public sectors did not have what? Variable pay. What does it mean? In their compensation structure, all employees were getting what? Base salaries, guaranteed salaries. What does it mean? Month on month, you are getting salary without any deduction. Without any deduction means you are guaranteed that salary. Okay? Now, what happened? What do you think has happened with the public sector culture? The meritorious, they saw huge attrition with the high performer. They said, Ghade or Ghode. We have no differentiation. Even if I work very hard and do very well, I'm going to get the same salary. And the guy who doesn't work also will get the same salary. So they lost out to good talent to private sector. And even government of India said, hey, we have to pull them up. People are taking it laid back. People are not working hard. They're not stretching themselves. So they said, if we are not giving variable pay, then where is the incentive to work harder than the other person and then get more if I'm capable? Are you seeing the differentiation, guys? Huh? Okay. So public sector started having variable pay to make that differentiation, saying that if I work hard, I'll get more money. Okay. Now, coming to your organization, Tapan, if a sales guy is not given high variable pay, where is that drive for the good salespeople to work harder and make more money? They'll say, hey, even if I work harder, no point. No, I can't make more money. Are you getting me, Tapan?
Also,
Huh?
one
Yes. Yes.
yeah, I
Yeah,
just
but
want
by
to
going by that German culture, they said, so you will see that if you have worked there, that the salespeople, you are not, the good high performers who are wanting to stretch will not have the motivation or the drive to really work, outperform and get more money. So today, in fact, if you see, most of the organizations are now focusing on pay for performance, means why it has an advantage, win-win for both employer and the employee. In what way? I'm not increasing my wage cost. You perform more, you get more. You don't perform, so I don't have to pay the wage cost. But whereas if I'm factoring that as a base salary, that means my wage cost is going up. But is my productivity, I mean, in relation with the wage cost, am I getting that kind of a productivity? Am I getting actually my return on investment? Guys, are you now getting that? Huh?
yeah.
We'll definitely do more on
Yes.
variable pay, but at this point of time, I thought I must definitely give you that much of, what exactly it means. Yeah. Any questions, guys, on this?
No.
Yogesh, you had a question on that?
No, I didn't have the question. I just wanted to say one thing, because we have seen, let's say if any organization had decided, okay, 10% variable that we want to give across, but it's still, it totally depend on the performance. If somebody is getting high rate, high rating, then that person will get the 100% of that variable component. And because we have seen, if somebody is just meeting the expectation, that is somewhere around 60%, 70%, and somebody who is just exceeding the expectation. So I think it is still, it is more related to the performance.
Step back now. Say what you are, this is for everybody. Good point you've taken. Say, for example, all of you. So you said, on a rating scale of 1 to 5, I mean, rated as 4, I'll get higher variable pay. If I've rated on 3, I'll get lesser pay. Is that what you're trying to say, right? Huh? It's based on
Yes. Yes.
performance, right?
Yes.
So this is detail. This is means how much will I get? This is detail. How much will I get? How will I go about executing a plan where, on a rating scale of 1 to 5, I will decide a individual's performance and pay him accordingly. Got it?
Yeah.
But as an organization, why do I actually carefully have to design this pay for performance? Because if I'm an aggressive company and I'm actually looking at, increasing my revenue, what will I do? I want people to perform, stretch themselves. What is the motivation for I'm not talking about Yogesh or what is it, Tapan or somebody. No, as an organization, if 80% of the people will perform, at a 5, I want them to, I want to drive performance, then my incentive scheme or a variable pay has to be such that it motivates people. Are you with me?
Yes.
I'm not talking about how do you execute your variable pay, not
I got
the
it.
detailing part.
Yeah.
Got it, no?
Yeah,
Huh?
I got it. Yeah.
I'm trying to say, hey, as an organization, if they have to really perform better, higher revenues, then what I have to drive? I have to ensure that my high performers have to stretch themselves. Now, when will they stretch? Only when I see that there is, what is it? High returns. If I don't see high returns, why should I stretch myself? Tapana, did you get me now?
Yes, I got it.
Most of the organizations are now focusing on paper performance plans. And let me tell you, as I said, I want to reiterate again, in a pay for performance, wage cost does not increase. Why doesn't it increase? Please tell me. I want you all to think and tell me.
Because
Quick,
the
quick.
any excess payment comes out of the extra productivity.
Exactly. So therefore, you are not paying as a wage cost. Say, for example, sorry, Nishant, I'm taking your name. So, so I'm paying 40 lakhs to Nishant, but he is only performing
Problem.
60% or 70%. Okay? But yet I have to pay him month on month that salary.
Yes.
Okay. But if I'm saying, hey, I'm going to keep my base salary low, but I will keep my variable pay high so that people will be motivated to stretch themselves. So organizations who actually attract and motivate people who can perform, if they will be attracted only when they see that there's a scope for making more money. Got it, guys? Okay. Yeah. But we will definitely talk more about it. And please save your questions because we have a full session on variable pay. Okay. Which is called individual equity and especially pay for performance because we'll be designing an incentive plan as well. Okay. The next is deferred pay. What is deferred pay? That means, I work for it now, but pay is deferred. Like, for example, retention bonus. When I'm hiring, I'll say, hey, you are going to, as a, to retain, we are going to give you 50,000, but it will be paid will I pay immediately? No. I will say, hey, I'm going to pay it, say 5 years after you retain him, and say in the second year, you'll get this much. Third year, you'll get this much, fourth year, and the fifth year maximum. So if you don't stay for that year, will I still give him the retention bonus?
No.
No, I won't
No.
give him. Right? So deferred pay. Now, similarly, stocks. Anybody what do you do? The startups are giving all stocks these days. So what do you do when you get stocks or shares? Can you immediately divest them?
No, at the time of separation.
No. So Abhijit is a very good high performer. So I want to retain him. So I'm going to give him a letter at this performance appraisal, interview time and say, hey, see, I'm going to give you 500 shares. Okay. At this price. All right. Now you can divest them after 2 years. So, but he wants to go next year from the organization. Will that letter be holding good?
That
Oh.
will
Huh?
not be.
Or
Will not be
absolutely
given
not.
for-
So that's just a piece of letter now. So only after 2 years, if he stayed, and then because of the good work I'm giving, and then at that price, he can still buy them. But then at that price, he says, hey, market, I'm getting cheaper. So it's an option. He can still buy or don't buy. You can buy it later. So it's deferred pay. Okay. What is annuity? Annuity is the plan which is given, extended to people who are at a mid-level or at a higher level. Now, this annuity is a little like a superannuation where companies are saying to the mid-level and senior people saying that, hey, we are offering you an annuity plan. Instead of getting deducted as tax, since you have to pay high tax, some portion of anyway you can't fully, get away with tax. So some amount, now we will actually then, so this annuity plan is, it gets invested in the life insurance corporation. Now you can actually, only after your retirement or after a certain, or when you leave the organization, then you can actually not even take the full amount. I think it's only 50% they pay, and then 50% again at the end of the year, end of the retirement, they pay it as a pension. You may say, hey, but what's the advantage? The advantage is, instead of this money getting deducted as tax, it is protected, saved, and it is given to you at the time of retirement, and some amount of it as pension. So it is deferred. Okay.
What
So
if
guys,
the person,
yeah, pardon?
what if the person leaves in between? Maybe say, for example, the person lives in years of 5 years. Then how about the portion what he has paid?
Yeah,
Like,
so this amount is not with the company. They invest it in LIC or somewhere. So they will give you the letter and you can always go and take it from that. And those people will still give you 50%. So,
it's a kind of this pension scheme, whatever we
it is
have.
a little different from pension scheme
Yes.
because pension becomes mandatory. It's like superannuation over and above, because superannuation also has a criteria. It has also a payable period, etc. Right? Like that.
Yeah. Oh, understood.
And it is extended to people who are on a higher salaries, like a mid-level people or a senior level people. Okay. Any questions, guys, in direct pay, base pay, variable pay? Because when you're going to design a structure, depending on your external environment factors, and then what drives you, so you're going to actually then design a structure. So is this all clear? Base pay, variable pay, deferred pay? Any questions? Okay,
it is clear.
quickly, because we have a small activity also. Quickly, let me go to the other indirect pay. Indirect pay is very simple, guys. So when we talk about indirect pay, first and the foremost thing is what comes into consideration is statutory compliance, government regulation with respect to wage, with respect to protection. So under protection program, you have certain compliances, which is medical insurance, right? Huh? Under protection programs, you also have PF, gratuity, etc. Social security is not here in India, of course. So you have to comply. Now, government is not saying that only comply and don't give anything extra. No, today most of the organizations are going over and above whatever is required. Can you share any example under the protection programs, guys? Cognizant has very good, huh? Anybody wants to share over and above the statutory compliance? Any examples of medical insurance or wellness, etc., etc.? Hmm?
Yeah, for
Nobody wants
wellness,
to
we have employee assistant program, EAP, and
Hmm.
and then the medical insurance, the term
Absolutely.
insurance, and for US employee we have short-term disability, dental, vision, and other things. So
Yeah, yeah. So in today's times, in fact, organizations are not extending it to even other family members. In fact, they are also opening the option of, you could pay the premium of insurance because you know that when you buy insurance in bulk, the premium comes at a lower cost, right?
Yeah.
So the organizations especially are giving a lot of importance after the COVID to employees and their families' health and wellness.
Yeah.
Okay, then pay for time not worked. So there are certain kind of statutory compliances, like you have to give what earned leave, sick leave, etc. Other than that, organizations are also giving over and above. You have to give maternity leave, etc. But paternity leave is not what is it statutory compliant, but some organizations as a goodwill they are giving it. Okay, then vacations, like some organizations say, hey, you've really worked very hard on this project. Now you can take 1 week off on vacation, sabbatical, go enjoy and come back. Right? Huh? Then emergency leaves, something happens, you don't have to. So you also get whether it's sick, accident, something has happened. So you get those. So organizations are just not limiting to whatever is given by the what statutory law, but over and above that, most of the good, like uh, of course, Google and Microsoft and these organizations are doing, but even the middle level organizations have started following these things for the goodness. Now, coming to services and perks. Very important. If you are a bank, you are getting what? Loan at a low cost.
Yeah.
If you are working in a big restaurant, etc., you get low cost or free meals, right? If you are working in some merchandise, etc., where furniture, you get some kind of a furniture at a much maybe lesser cost. So recreation facilities, what are some of the things organizations are doing? In fact, if you go to any of these IT companies, you will see that, you have what? Tennis, indoor games, outdoor games, swimming pool, huh? What
Yeah.
not, right? All kinds. You have a crash, huh? And you have, what is it? Sleeping couches where you can actually take a nap. Now, most importantly, people are also, as Yogesh said, under the employee wellness, there is something called counseling, and also you could go to a psychiatrist, and one or two are free. Why do you think this has increased? Have started, organizations are giving a
Yes.
lot of importance to
Yeah.
that. Mental wellness, right?
Yes.
Physical wellness, yes. Now, we also started in Sutherland. We used to have a counselor coming 4 times in a week, so, doing counseling. And we realized we did some analytics. And we realized that, our productivity increased after this counseling sessions. So it's all confidential, but we got to know so many mental problems, etc., etc. And people really needed a lot of counseling in this aspect. Okay. Anything else which comes to in your organizations you are doing, you can share, please. Anything?
Yeah. Free meals and during the night shift and
All that, I think, yes, absolutely. Most of the organizations are doing it.
gym.
Okay.
Yeah. And gym services.
Gym.
Yeah.
Yes, it depends on, again, how many people are using the gym, right?
Yeah.
If I'm not a gym person, I would rather tell, hey, so we're going to talk about that. How are you creating a basket, a flexi basket? I'd rather have some organization send me to some upskilling course rather than gym facility, right?
Agree. Yeah.
Okay. All right, guys. So we will talk more about some of the things when we do those particular sessions. But to give you a sense of the compensation system, it's divided into direct, indirect, and then you have base, variable, deferred, and then you have here indirect, which is non-monetary. You have certain programs under protection, and you are paid for time not work and services and perks. Now, quickly, I'm just going to give you a small activity which will help you. Two groups. Guys, this is a very simple exercise, okay?
Okay.
Well, this is actually a worked out example. Now I'm going to have two groups. One group, the salary of the exercise is all about. I'm going to give you a figure, the CTC figure, and you have to then break it up into different components and create a salary breakup. And this calculator is very simple. You could use it even in your organization. So it's actually a calculator where if you pop in one figure, it keeps changing. So it's a very useful Excel calculator which you can use it. So I want you to create a salary breakup. There are two groups now. So one group can use, so 50 lakhs is the salary, and the other group 80 lakhs. Okay. So 50 lakhs is the person who's at a middle level, and the 80 lakhs is the person who's at a top level. Okay. CXO level. All right. Now I leave it depending on Vilma. She makes two groups. Make a nice group with, good combination, Vilma. All right. Now you need to make a salary breakup. Okay. We just discussed when you have a CTC, what is the essence of this is what kind of a tax exempts will you take into consideration? Though a lot of it is already there and it will help you. So you need to make for 50,000 and 50 lakhs and 80 lakhs. Why I also said middle level and top level, you can also add certain kind of components for top level, which can give tax exempt, and certain level for mid level. Okay, guys? Yeah. Very simple, fairly simple. Divide the payroll guys into two groups. So don't have two payroll guys in the same group. Okay, Vilma? Okay, for this group,
I'm little bit confused on a fuel reimbursement. Is it not taxable? According to me, it is taxable.
come again, Tapan.
Fuel reimbursement for the car, na? Unless and until it is part of the car scheme where lease is there, it is taxable.
So no. So if you are giving a car, okay, lease car, and so that is also one where to some extent it is taxable for personal use. But if you are giving that car for official purposes, then everything is reimbursed.
Car scheme is okay, but when we were making those calculation, na, Devi asked me to add fuel reimbursement of 5,000 per month. So I'm a bit confused. This 5,000 per month, if it is simple a fuel reimbursement without having any car lease and other thing, then it is taxable.
No.
If
Have
you
this very
own a
clear.
car,
I'll just give you one clarity. I think this is very important. If you are doing anything for the organization, spending anything, reimbursements, then support it with bills and it is not taxable.
So
Anything.
we have to claim it as a business expenses, not as a car expenses for coming and going out of the residence to office.
Exactly. Because already that guy is giving 50,000 standard deduction. Tax exempt. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah. So everybody's here? Devi and all are there?
yeah, no.
Okay. So guys, what we will do is now, if you can send me this, whatever you have worked out. Okay. I think Devi group has worked out, but for Yogesh and Tapan group, I'm going to send the worked out example so that you can actually look at what you have worked out. And then we will discuss the first thing in session 2 as to what should have been done, or what do you think is the correct way of doing a salary breakup. So we'll do some kind of a work on that. Okay.
Sure.
And if Devi's group has done, please send it in the WhatsApp group so that I can look at it.
Sure.
And even if Yogesh has done it or Yogesh wants to show it, it's okay. Because what happens, you know exactly, then when I send you the solution, then you know what is the gap. Okay.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. So any questions before we wrap up, saying that we looked at external environment, we looked at the components, and we looked at both direct and indirect pay. Now, in session 2, what we are going to do is we are looking at equity principle, and we are going to do job evaluation, which is very important and critical. In job evaluation, we look at job grading, we look at point plan method, and we'll also look at how to then design a salary structure. Okay, guys?
Yes,
So
sir.
all of you be on time, and it's a very interesting. And if you can read up something, whatever Vilma sends you as reading material, it will help you to learn faster.